Hello everybody and welcome back. I am back in Singapore right now. It is 4:15 p.m. and let us begin. Hello, good morning. Hi Andrew, good to see you here. Alright, so noticed in my previous live streams that I've always been covering live commentaries and game analysis. I've been doing a lot on opening and middle game, but I realized that I don't really have a lot of end game content. So I guess I better start doing a couple of end game analysis right now lah. Okay, so this game that I'm going to go through today is split between Nima Javanbakht, who is my friend and my fellow NUS postgraduate student, and Grandmaster Arjun Kauyan from the recently concluded Asian University Chess Championships 2021. I was fortunate to be a live commentary for the Singapore team. I will give a bit more details on that commentary later on, but now let us focus on the game. So in this game, there were quite a bit of mistakes made by both sides in the opening and the middle game. It went to a drawn rook endgame at first, but then I think after a few more mistakes, we finally arrived at this position. Nima is taking the white pieces and Arjun has the black pieces. Both sides are down to their last 1 minute or so, and here we have a rook endgame with two connected passed pawns at the edge of the board. Now at first glance you might think, okay, this is a very easy to win endgame. White is completely winning, these passed pawns are very strong. But it's not so easy if you look into the details. Because first of all, black has a lot of potential to rain down a lot of checks on the king. So if you want to escort the pawns down to the edge of the board, best chess streamer in Singapore. Hello, Jay. Yes, thank you for the support and the raid. Yeah. So like I was saying, the rook has the potential to keep checking the white king, which is always a problem for the attacker in these rook endgames. And secondly, which I'm going to demonstrate later on, when the pawns reach the edge of the board, then there comes a new problem for white, which is that black might try to set up some potentials for stalemates, and as the attacker, you have to be very careful of that. Now, Nima is definitely he's an international master. Of course, he is very strong in this endgame. So, I think there's no better way to learn how to convert this kind of endgame than to look at his actual play in this competition. So this endgame actually is divided into two main stages. The first stage is the initial stage where you're trying to escort your pawns down the board, and the challenges for the attacker is you're trying to bring them down, and at the same time you want to give some shelter for the king to protect themselves. Hello, Jung Yang. Yeah, I'm not sure if Kyra is still streaming. But if she's still streaming after I'm done, I'll go over and support her again. Yeah. So that's the initial stage. And later on at the end of this, yeah, I know man, you guys. Yeah, and so but the second stage happens when both sides are at the edge of the board. So let's go all the way to something like this. Yeah, something like this, where the pawns are here, but then there's a lot of chances for black to try and create some stalemate tricks over here. So again, white has to be very careful, and the play over here is not as simple as it looks. Okay, so let's go back to the initial position. Over here, G8. So what white needs to do here is he needs to advance his pawns and then make sure that he has enough shelter for his king and don't drop either of the pawns. One thing you need to know is that the moment either of these pawns drop, it becomes a draw because the king is in front of the pawn. Generally, when that happens, this becomes a drawn endgame. Yeah. So what does white play here? King to h5 is a logical move by white. Of course, the idea is that you cannot give any more checks along this black rank, and as the defender as black, what you want to do is you just want to keep raining checks down on the white king. So which is why black plays rook to c5 check. Now, of course, black is a grandmaster. He knows his stuff as well. He knows how to create the most problems for white in this position. And now we see g5 happening very quickly. And now you see there's no more checks on either side. Usually as the defender, again, you want to have maximum checking distance. You want to give checks on either here, or if the king is here, you want to go down here and give checks on this side of the board. That is not very possible anymore. Is that a chicken in the background? Yes, that's a jungle fowl. I'm beside LT3. There are a lot of jungle fowls in this area. Yeah. Yeah, I think there was a previous stream where they just decided to start making their calls and they didn't really stop. So yeah, I just let them be. I mean, you like the sounds of nature, right? Yeah, better than just hearing my voice all day long. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, rook to c6 here, again, a very logical move. If you're familiar with the fiddle defense, this is a very normal move, because if there was no pawn here, actually this is a draw already. Because the moment you push this, then the rook just goes back and rains check down on the enemy king. The problem is there are two pawns, and this pawn is giving shelter, so which is why white can really safely push g6 away here. And now, if rook tries to check here, you just go forward, right? If you try to go here, try to give checks, you still go forward, and then you push this pawn. So rook to c4, hoping to tie the king down to pushing this pawn, but now I'm going to introduce you to this very interesting maneuver that will save you a lot of times in rook endgames. King to g5. The idea here is that you are going to push this pawn, and then you are going to play king h6 at the same time. And if rook to c5 check is played, then you go back, you're sheltered, and then you can push this pawn again. Say for example, if you go down here, you try to check here, again you have shelter over here, and then you push the pawn again. So which is why this triangular maneuver, rook to king to g5 and king to h6 is generally very useful in this kind of games. Yep. So rook to a4, black knows he can't really do anything because let's say rook to c5, like I say again, king to h6, rook to c4, h5, and that's going to be made on the back rank very soon. So rook to a4 and h5, going very normally and just advancing the pawn slowly. And now rook to a5 check. Okay, so at this point, white actually already is getting a much easier game because he can already play king to h6 and already there are a lot of mating threats over here. But I also want to point out at this stage, let me go into the variations, that instead of rook to a5 check, black can try to make the life more difficult for white by playing this tricky move, rook to a8. And the idea is that you are trying to tempt white into over pushing this g pawn, this h pawn. I mean, of course, this isn't played in the game, both sides have less than 1 minute, so you don't expect them to make the most accurate moves. But imagine rook to h8, and let's say white is tempted to play h6, and then just shuffle. And now g7 it still wins, but it is very difficult for white to play now. I mean, you need to play very accurately and make sure you don't go wrong. Right? Say for example, if white is not careful, and let's say after king to h6, so king to g8, king to h8, sorry. And the idea here is that you are, it might look very counterintuitive, like why will you put your king in the corner? You want to bring him out, right? But the idea is that black is setting up a trap, and you want to lure white in to making a stalemate trap. So for example, if white is not careful, he plays like rook to e7 or something. Then all of a sudden, you have rook to c5, king to h6, and now I think maybe I'll just pause here for about 5 to 10 seconds, see if you can find the drawing move for black over here. Okay, actually I just realized there's like no viewers in my stream, so forget it. I'll just rook h5 Sasi Baka. Yeah, sure. Yeah, actually rook h5 is correct. So rook h5 check. And the idea here is that white must take, and then suddenly it's stalemate. Oh goodness. Yeah. Yeah, I know Jace and Joe and Jung Yang will all know this position. It's quite fundamental if you know your endgames. Yeah. Hello. Hey, Sako, you look familiar. Were you on Kyra's chat? Yeah, I think I've seen your name on the live stream just now. Yeah, she's just started streaming and she really knows how to do her branding. As you can see, my stream layout is very plain and very amateurish. So, yeah, I'm generally quite minimalistic. But hopefully I will, yeah, of course, they're raiding. I'm more than happy to accept raiders. Yeah. Yeah, but generally I'm a more simple man. Yeah. Hi, Lau. Hi. Hi, Kyra. Hi, Kyra. Should I start streaming? Yeah, of course, you guys should all start streaming, man. I mean, so far I think the Singapore varsity chess really leads the Singapore chess community in this streaming area. I don't really see other demographics of the Singapore chess community doing this apart from Grandmaster Kevin Go, of course. Yeah, JSD Hikaru SC streamers. Yeah, of course. Yeah, for Singapore. Yeah, of course. I think this whole community we are trying to set up a Singapore streaming community. especially among the tertiary institutions. Yeah. Hopefully this will take off and we get in more viewers. Yeah. So anyway, where was I? Let's get back to the game. So yeah, rook to h5 check, and basically after you take this, it's stalemate. So I think this pretty much really tells you what's the problem with pushing this h pawn too far, because it allows this kind of stalemate tricks to happen. Right? Yeah, I mean we are all terrible at chess compared to Magnus Carlsen J. No worries, don't need to feel too bad. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, white still wins in this position. I think the correct move here is king to h6. King to h6, the idea is either g7, checkmate, or if the rook goes away, then you just rook here, checkmate, because there are no more checks for the that the black rook can rain down on the white king anymore. But again, you need to be very precise to find this move, which is why you need to be very careful if you are going to over push this h pawn too far. Yeah. So let's get back to the main line, and yeah, I think it was here, yes, h5. And of course, rook to a8 was not played by Grandmaster Arjun. Instead, he went for rook to a5 check. King to h6. It's still very tricky for white, because later on you need to know a very precise move in order to win the game. Yeah, I mean, I mean at this point, I don't really matter who's higher or who's lower. We are all in this together. We are bringing the Singapore tertiary chess community. So yeah, all of you are welcome to stream chess, to play chess, and do other stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I need to start. Okay. I need to concentrate on this game. So anyway, after rook to a5 check, king to h6, and now rook to a8. Of course, the threat here is you want to play this, and then you try and promote. So rook to a8, right? And here you have a very difficult position as well, because if you are not careful, and let's say you play something like g7, or then suddenly you expose your king to rook to c5, and then oh my goodness, where's the king going to run? So again, you have to be careful. So Nima over here, he goes for some waiting moves. I think because he's quite low on the clock as well, about 1 minute 30 seconds. Rook to g7, king to h8, and some waiting moves, basically. And now over here, let's take a look. Yeah, you see black is defending pretty well. Now he has the option of putting a check either here or at the side. And like you say, rook to a8, you want to put maximum checking distance on the king. But wherever the rook goes, the king always will have this hiding space on h6 to fall back a pawn. So after rook to a5 check, king to h6, rook to a8, and at first glance, it does seem that black might be able to hold this, because again, like I said, if you are trying to make any progress with g7, then let's say g7, then you would run into this, and oh my goodness, there's no more shelter for the king. You have to continue running and running forever. So it is hard for white to win this. On the other hand, oh my goodness, did I just spoil the game? Yeah, I'm going to pretend y'all didn't see that. Yeah, but on the other hand, if let's say you try to make some waiting moves like rook to b7, then I will just play rook to c8. I'll just stay here forever on the on the first rank. Then you got no mating threats over here, right? Yeah. So back to this original position. So how are you going to stop him from like yeah how are you going to progress? Why not just play rook to c5? Rook to c5 definitely very possible. I think king to c5, let's say here king to g5, or let's say rook to c5. I think I can. Oh yeah, you can't, because the moment you do this, then that is oops, sorry. Yeah, the moment you play this, sorry. The moment you sorry, my mouse. The moment you play this, then yeah, that's checkmate. Yes. Rook to c5 is I didn't actually consider that. I was considering another move, but is there a way for black to refute this? King out. and I go here, possibly. I think this is tricky. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna turn on the engine here, and yeah, I know I normally don't turn on engines, but let's just see what the computer says. Oh yeah, white is winning. The idea is that you just want to push this H pawn, but I think it's tricky for white to win here lah. Yeah, and push pawns. So let's say this, why you on engine? Yeah, but I don't really look at the lines that deeply lah. Yeah. Let's take a look, or I can keep checking you. So let's say here, yeah, like I said, it's tricky. You see. So let's say here now, and then okay, but there's this line, which happens like this, and after you trade off, then I mean this is a very simple win for white over here. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so I think rook to c5 is playable. There might be ways for black to draw, but I'm not going to go into them. Yeah, I will not go too deep into these variations, because I want to go to the more critical move that is like cleaner. And the critical move here actually is rook to e7. With the idea that you want to put this king on f7, and with the idea that if he gives a check over here, then you can quickly drop the rook back down here to give shelter. And also, when you bring the king to f7, not only are you creating mating threats over here, you are also going to you're also threatening to push the pawns when you bring the king here, which cannot be done if the king is still on h6 because this h pawn is blocked. So the idea is that you want to bring this king out. You want to push this pawn to create checkmate threats, and then you want to use this rook to shelter, or use this rook to give the mating attack. Basically, you make your king sandwich. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So rook to e7, rook to b8, king to g5. And now, if let's say you play rook to a8, which wasn't played in the actual game, then we have king to f6, rook to a6, rook blocks, takes, and this is an easy win for white over here. I will go through this again later. Yeah. Basically you win this resulting king pawn endgame. Actually I just want to play out the variations now lah. Over here something like this, and actually you just win straight away with this. Wait, is it that? Oh, no, what did I choose upon? Wait, why was this? Oh yes, this was a blunder because of this tricky shit over here. Yeah, no, the end game that I wanted to show was this, where white can just trickily push the pawns here. It might look a little bit weird. I'll just leave it over here for the moment, and you guys can try to give a think on what's the only winning move for white over here. I'm digressing a bit for the rook endgame. Yeah, I just want to show off this pawn endgame for you guys. I white to move and win. There's really only one move. Maybe I'll pause for about 5 to 10 seconds. Nima just joined my live stream, so he sees his game being analysed. By the way, Nima, this is not actually played in the game. I'm quite sure you remember this. I'm just showing off a variation. Yeah, but it's tricky, because if let's say you go here, yeah, king h5 is wrong. See, if you go here, there's stalemate, right? See, but really king to f5 cannot really be played. You just go back. Stalemate. And if you push, obviously that's bad. So how? Yeah, maybe I'll give you about 5-10 more seconds. Hello Nima, good to see you on the Instagram live. Hey Jake. Yes, you're correct. Hey Jake, queen. The idea is you take, and now you are in a winning endgame. Yes, you set the h pawn exactly. So now the idea is that after this, I'm quite sure all of you know how to win this endgame now. right? And after that, queen up, you just promote and you win. So yeah, so the critical move here really is 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 H8, and then you promote the pawn. Very nice endgame that I like to show the beginners. Yeah, it's quite a nice maneuver. There's really only one way to win. Okay, I digress a bit too much. Let me just go back to the main line. So like I was saying earlier, the moment you play like rook to e7 over here, which really was the critical move, then after rook to a8, king to f6, and then after this rook trade, you can easily win this pawn endgame. Instead, Grandmaster Arjun goes for rook to b1, which also wins for white. Yeah? Now, it might seem strange because the moment you come here, there's no more shelter. Right? And if you go here, it's back to square one. So again, it's still very tricky. But Nima finds the right move over here. And maybe I'll give you about another 5 to 10 seconds to see what's the finishing blow over here. Okay, I can give you a bit of spoilers. I keep talking about mating threats just now, right? So it is related to that. I think Andrew has seen this game live, so so I don't think you should answer it. Okay, I think I'll just give the answer now. So the winning move here, rook to e8 check. And why? Because it's made very shortly after this, and it takes checkmate. And that's it. So again, you notice that the whole idea behind advancing these pawns and putting the rook on this second rank and putting the king on f6 immediately is to get this mating threat in, which is what Nima was able to achieve. Which really is very tricky, you know. Actually over here, after rook to e8, actually Black resigned because he realized there was no way to stop the mating threats from happening. So as you can see, this endgame really is not as easy as you think for white to convert, you know. Let's say we start from here again, from king to g8 and king to h5. So you see there really are two stages to converting these kind of endgames. First of all is the initial stage where you push the pawns and you're trying to ensure there is sufficient shelter for both for your king and also sufficient margin for you to push your pawns. And then later on you reach this tricky endgame where you need to be careful not to land into any stalemate threats. Remember, I've already talked about the trick that Black can try to set up with this, where after g7, after h7 it becomes very tricky and you need to play very accurately if you want to win this endgame. Yeah. But the key for white to winning this endgame is that after something like this, you need to use your pawns, your rook, and your king to create the mating threats along the back rank. And at the same time, you also need to be aware of this very critical rook to e7 move, where you're able to build the shelter so that the rook does not be able to cause any nonsense for your king when it's trying to get out and allow you to push your pawns. Right. So yeah, very fantastic game by Nima. Actually, this was one of his best wins during this entire tournament. He won a very strong grandmaster, and I think he scored pretty well at least for the first half of the tournament. Definitely, he had a very fantastic performance during this Asian University Chess Championships, right? And of course, I do want to end off this game by giving a shout out to the AUCC Singapore team. I was, like I said at the start of the live stream, I was very fortunate to be a live commentator for this tournament, and I've seen a lot of their games. They played really well, both the men's and the women's teams. Yeah, they definitely played way above their rating, especially against very tough opposition from the other countries. So again, well done Team Singapore, and yeah, I do hope that you guys have enjoyed my rather long and uninteresting commentary. Right? If you want to subscribe to more trashy quality chess analysis, don't forget to subscribe to my Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram channels. You can see them above. Right? Yeah, and again, thank you Kyra for helping to rate this stream. And maybe I should promote Kyra's stream as well. Yeah, so let's say I go back here and I go to so for my regular watchers, you guys can also go over to and subscribe to Kyra's stream over here, Chess Girl Kyra. Yeah. Yeah, as you can see, she really knows her branding. Unlike me, I'm very minimalistic. Yeah. And yeah, I think she's streaming quite regularly as well, definitely more regularly than me. So do feel free to give her a subscribe as well. Yeah, definitely. I mean, here in the Singapore chess community, we all try to help each other, especially among the varsities, right? So yeah, I think that's about it for today. Yeah, thank you all and have a nice day. See you again another day.